Hello. Well, it's lovely and quiet out here, but it's a bit cold. I have to say there's a bit of a chill in the air. But still, we've got a bit of sunshine today, a bit of grey cloud as well. But all's well with the world. Welcome to Colganology. At least it's not raining. There's a tractor out on one of the farm fields. Oh, and a woodpecker as well. It's all happening here. What's really interesting, and unfortunately you can't see it on this camera, that's the woodpecker again, flying around that tractor are quite a few red kites. Now bearing in mind these are birds of prey with like a 4-foot wingspan. They're going behind the tractor a bit like seagulls do in other parts of the country. And what they're looking for is the worms. It's a little bit blustery today, but let's go on bluebell watch. Loads more out now. That noise you can hear is because the tractor's actually quite close to me now. He's coming up towards the edge of the field here. Afraid to see him through the trees. I'm wondering whether that will give us a better view of the red kites. Oh, hang on for a second. Yeah, there you go. Well, that's quite a device he's got on the back of there. Right, here we go, that's a bit better. There's a couple flying around behind him. That thing being towed behind the tractor, I think it's called a drum spiker or a spiker. Basically, the idea, if I remember correctly, is that it goes over the top of the soil and the spikes break up any big lumps of soil, which you need round here because we're on the chalk hills here, so there's an awful lot of clay in the soil. You get big lumps of clay and big flint nodules caught up in amongst it all, and you probably need to smash that up a little bit before you put the ploughshares through the soil, because otherwise you're just going to knacker your blades. See a few of them flying around down there by the tractor. So on through our little woody walk. Lots of bluebells here. Shed was a bit of sun to make them pop. That woodpecker's very noisy in the background. Mind you, so is that skylark. He's really going for it. Mind you, he might have his nest in the middle of that field. Lots of lovely gnarly trees around here, which is something I always like to see. Now this is interesting, so every so often you get a whole bunch of little sycamores growing up. Now I can't actually see a sycamore nearby. So this is where the seeds of, oh I can actually, it's just over there. So the seeds obviously floated over here and got themselves planted. But it's funny how you just get a little stand of them coming out like this. There's another place I'll show you now where the sycamore's starting to take over part of a walk. Now here you see, almost acting as a guardian, you've got a sycamore here. If you go around the corner, just look how many sycamores there are here. Oh, look, all young sycamores. All of these, look, like a gang that's collected for a rumble. And yet, once you get beyond this little group here, there's one more, look, just up there, that one just there, then the sycamores stop. It's like safety in numbers. Well, sycamores aren't originally native to the UK. I mean, they're very common now, but they came across about the same time as the Romans did, if I remember correctly. And one of the reasons they've spread so well is because of just how easily they can spread. Those helicopter seeds of theirs, they travel a lot. But if you look back in ancient books, and certainly you look back to the old Celtic tree alphabet and the sacred trees from before the time of Christianity, sycamore doesn't get a mention. Now this stuff with the little white flowers is stellaria. It's a species of stellaria. We most commonly call them chickweed. And there's a number of different chickweeds, one of which is very tasty and edible, and the others, I don't think they're doing any harm, but they're not particularly edible. I think this is one of the not so edible ones. And what does chickweed taste like? Well, to be honest, to me it tastes like grass. So you know when when you're sitting in a meadow somewhere trying to write a poem to your loved one, you've got a blade of grass stuck in your mouth as you're musing. Yeah, it tastes a bit like that. It's not an unpleasant taste. I don't know whether I'd want it in a salad though. The one thing they've all got in common is they look as if they've got 10 petals, and when you look closer you realise it's 5, but each of the petals is bifurcated. It's got a split down the middle. Blossom on the crabapple trees, looking very pretty, very pink, very colourful. Look at that. Beautiful, isn't it? I have to say the crabapples themselves are interesting because they're tiny. They're almost like the size of grapes and they taste absolutely horrendous. You might remember this stuff from school. This is Ribwort plantain, which has got these buds that come up on these long stalks. You might have broken them off and wrapped the stem around and flicked them. What you may not know is that those little heads are actually quite tasty. They taste just like mushrooms. And if you get enough of them and boil them in water, you can make it like a mushroom stock. Actually really nice. They taste like raw mushroom. They taste just like raw mushroom. Meanwhile, those lovely leaves are full of antihistamines, fantastic for rubbing onto stings and cuts. So that's a great little plant. Everyone should know Ribwort plantain. Now, by comparison, this is greater plantain, a close relative. As you can see, the leaves aren't so long and thin and are quite broad, but again have that very distinctive rib pattern going down through them. The other big difference between the two of them, apart from the shape of the leaves, is the stem coming upwards on which the flowers form, tiny little flowers. Because on the ribwort you just get a bobble at the top. With these, the bobble extends down the entire length of the stem. It looks less like a drumstick and more like a sparkler, I suppose. Loving the amount of dandelions there are here at the moment. That's keeping the bees and the flies very, very happy. Although I'm not seeing as many bees and flies as I'd hope to see. It's probably about 1 every 20 flowers, but hey, they're out here. What I really love is when the buttercups come up, because these little meadows here go absolutely yellow with buttercups. It's fabulous. That was a very brave peacock. Here's a young birch tree, and what's interesting here is we can see both the male and the female catkins. The males are the longer ones that are hanging down and they're releasing pollen into the air, and the female ones are the ones that are sticking up, the ones at the top, which are smaller and start off green, but once they've been pollinated turn into a nice rusty brown. Hang on, so nature, or some sort of creator, if you believe such things, has seen fit to create organisms that are both male and female, and for whom the pronouns he and she would not be appropriate. That's going to upset a few conservative thinkers, isn't it? And just in case you think it's only plants, it's not. There's quite a few animals that regularly change sex or have no particular defining gender. I mean, there are fish that change sex on a regular basis if the population numbers of either males or females gets too low. There are anglerfish, male anglerfish, that voluntarily fuse themselves to the body of a female and become fed by her blood system, basically, and they become nothing but a sperm producing organ. So the female has both male and female organs, if you like. So the two have become one. And aphids can produce young without males and females coming together at all. They can just clone themselves. So, you know, whenever you hear people talking about the fact that there's only 2 genders, look to nature. So maybe there's a lesson to be learned here about, you know, being a little bit more open-minded and sticking to the golden rule of reciprocity, which is don't treat other people or things in ways that you wouldn't want to be treated yourself. I mean, that's a great rule, and if we all stuck to that, the world would be a much better place, wouldn't it? Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for joining me. Please like, please subscribe if you like this sort of nonsense, and I'll see you in the next video. Diddle pip.